side of the First Baptist Church on Westfield. Evening.
Yes, sir.
How you doing tonight?
Good.
What are you doing out here?
Sitting.
Just sitting?
Yes.
You live around here?
Nope.
Do you have an identification on you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
right.
I do. Let's see here.
What brings you to Silverton?
Travel?
Just traveling through town?
Is there a complaint?
Well, we had an issue here a couple weeks ago with somebody trying to break into a building back here, so whenever we see vehicles, we just like to check it out.
You got that on record?
It was on our patrol briefing. I don't know if anybody actually pulled a case on it.
I could read that.
Well, the patrol briefing isn't something that's a public record. It's something that we share.
So it's nothing that's actually could be proven that there was something that happened out here.
Well, if somebody pulled a report, you could get a copy of the report. I think there's a fee involved with that.
Well, I don't need
I know that before when I've stopped and run vehicles, sometimes we get neighbors that live across the street that park their cars there. But,
so pulling reports costs money?
Yep. Charlie 18, Dion wants through Oregon, Washington by name, date of birth. How you pronounce your last name?
Like a ketchup
Heinz?
bottle?
Last is Hines. Hotel Echo, India, November, Zulu Echo. First to Travis, middle William, 122475. So are you just passing through Silverton, or do you plan to stay in town, or?
I'm just traveling.
Just kind of up and down. So you are you living at this address in Washington, or are you kind of transient right now?
That's my address.
You live there?
Well, it's my mailing address.
Okay. Who lives at that address?
I don't know.
You don't know who lives there, but you get your mail there?
I get my mail there.
Did you used to live at that address?
It's a mailing address.
Is it a residence?
I don't understand where we're going with this. What are we trying to establish?
I'm just trying to figure out whether you're living here. I mean, it kind of looks like from your car that you're living in your car. You're transient.
Well,
have you had permission from the church to park here and sleep in your car on their property? Because technically it's private property.
Well, they give permission. I mean, if we have to contact somebody, I'm willing to talk to them.
I'm just trying to figure out if you're planning to spend time. I mean, is this going to be something where we're going to see your car frequently over here, and that way I know if I've already made contact with you and I recognize the car.
I don't plan on making this a permanent thing.
Copy. Alright, there's your driver's license back. I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm just,
it feels like it.
Put yourself in my shoes, okay? I'm a police officer. I'm driving through an area. It's late at night. You know, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. We don't usually see vehicles parked on the backside of the church, kind of back here, out of the way. You know, I see somebody sitting in the car. You know, you got to expect us to be kind of curious to find out what's going on. I mean, I know that this time of the morning we get newspaper drivers driving through town, so I didn't know if you were somebody that was like a newspaper driver just taking a break, or if, you know, what the case looks like, you're somebody who's transient, you don't live around here, and maybe you're just passing through.
Okay.
But
Yeah, you're trying to protect the safety of the people or something.
Well, I just like to know who's in my town and who's out and about at 4 o'clock in the morning, and who's out sitting in their vehicle parked behind a church, kind of out in the dark off the roadway. It just kind of looks a little suspicious. I just wanted to make sure everything.
Suspicious for what?
Do you often see people sleeping in their cars parked in the dark behind buildings in the middle of the night?
What's that suspicious for, though?
Well, it could be, I want to know who's there and what are they up there for.
It's criminal activity?
Well, it could be. I mean, maybe, how do I know you're not preparing to break into a building or do something else? How do I know you're not sitting here selling drugs out of your car?
Anybody could be suspicious for that.
Well,
anything you do could be suspicious.
This is the time of the day where you don't typically see a lot of people out and about, and when you see somebody sleeping in their car out behind a building kind of tucked away in the dark, it kind of gets our attention, that's all. Just wanted to check and make sure, if you're going to be doing this and making this a habit, you might want to consider just checking with the church, making sure that they're okay with you being on their property, because I know that they had asked us to make some extra patrols through here after they had some problems with a storage shed that somebody attempted to break into. I don't think they actually made entry into it.
There's a record of a storage shed being broken into?
Again, I don't know if an officer pulled. It was passed on in our briefing, which is how officers share information from shift to shift, but I remember seeing something about some extra patrol requests because of an attempted break-in. I don't know.
I would think that any citizen should be able to look this up and see that there's
I don't set the rules for our records. If it's a report that you want to try to get, I know that there's a fee involved. I don't know what that fee is.
I'm getting a report from you, and it sounds usually it's supposed to be an official thing when a cop tells me this is what happened, and
not necessarily. I mean, I can go out and do an area check on a building, and I might pass it on the patrol log to tell the guys, hey, I went and did a check at the hotel resort up on the hill, but it's nothing that I would have pulled a case report on and typed up a big report on it. I was just driving through on patrol through the area, and I'd share that with the next shift coming on that, hey, this is one of the things I did last night, but it doesn't mean there's going to be a record.
You said a storage shed got broken into.
I believe it was something that was attempted. I don't think they actually made entry. I just remember seeing an entry in the log or getting an email from one of my supervisors saying, hey, they've requested extra patrol.
You'd probably want to take a picture of the, tampering.
Yeah, again, I wasn't the officer that responded. I just remember seeing some request for extra patrol in the area, and that's, like I said, when I drive down the road and I see a car parked back here in the dark, and I've seen cars before. You're not the first car I've gone out on. Granted, you're the first one that's been occupied. Oftentimes it ends up being people that live on the street over here that for whatever reason are parking their cars over here and not in their driveway. Mm-hmm. But you're not the first time I've stopped to run a plate on a car over here at the church.
Well, you did more than just run the plate. You run my driver's license.
Do you have any other questions for me?
Nope.
All right. You have a good night.